Hi, intrepid viewers. I wanted to introduce you to my other grand dog now. This is GULI. And GULI's claim to fame, apart from being much smarter than the pug, her claim to fame is she wasn't born in Australia at all. She was born in Italy. She was born in Milan. How stylish is that? So when she came to live with members of my family, she, as a 12-year-old dog, had to learn English, and she's done very well. She's now bilingual, and I'd say a better linguist than I am. So there you go. Say hello to everyone, Guli. Now, when I was catching up on the usual sort of massive amount of political information, I was intrigued that there's a bit of a position where the religious left is starting to get a bit of muscle. So I think it's thanks to Mayor Pete and others to counteract the religious right and its ultra-conservatism. So I thought this was an interesting topic. So that's what I'm going to read on today. Okay, so in terms of America, I'm just looking at the spectrum of Christianity. I want to look at leadership in these various contexts. So let's have a look at what is happening, because I think it's absolutely essential that the country, which is ostensibly a predominantly Christian country, there's no reason why a Christian country has to kowtow to 19th century Christianity. There are very progressive things happening in many of the Christian tributaries. So let's have a look. I want to look generally, and then I'll ask a few questions. Okay. So in the general sense, American Christianity leading into 2020, because I think it's going to be a significant player. Oops, what fell out? Oh, someone's walking away from something. We'll just leave that out there. Okay. Christianity. Let's have a look. American Christianity. Here we go. I'm just going to... Sorry. All right. Here we go. All right. Oh, that tells a story. Now, in America, first digression, when I grew up in Australia, even though most people were notionally Christian and got married in a church and they christened their kids, church attendance was much higher than it is now. But we had a much stronger separation of church and state. I think what's happened in the States is it's fused together. We'll look at it in this reading. But the US, like everywhere, there is falling church attendance, and I take that to be the meaning of that card. There are some indications that young Republicans too are tending to move away a little bit from the hard line, intolerant positions of some of these smaller churches. They're notionally smaller, but some people are walking away. And what we have behind that, there's a maternal energy here. The Mother Church, if you like, was more powerful before than it is now. So although the numbers are up, particularly in southern states and so forth, the idea of the Mother Church caring for everybody and stuff is kind of slipping away and being replaced by the prosperity gospel, whatever the hell that is. So the King of Pentacles, this is also, I think, literally Trump, a man who has no religious conviction, no interest at all, actually probably thinks he is God, So the prosperity gospel has sort of taken over from the more humanitarian aspects. It's Old Testament, New Testament stuff too. So underneath, diversity and the world. So many of the more active Christians are coming from non-Anglo countries too. You have a huge Latin population. You have an African-American population that gravitates to different types of churches than your Anglo churches that provide community cohesion, so forth, connecting with the world. Okay, all of that. Short-term outcome, there's a bit of an element of taking things for granted with this card, in the sense that if you are fortunate enough to be able to have had a tertiary education and look at things, that's when people tend to move away more from the fundamentals of Christianity, but also a bit out of touch. This figure is not abusive or unkind, just a bit out of touch, and the robes are a little bit big. There's also the pentacles going on, which is money. People who don't have much money paying money to the church to be told, if you hang in and do the right thing, you too can make money. So there's this money stuff going on, which is fairly ugly. Okay, so that's sort of laying the landscape. Now, while I'm talking here, I want to know if there is any momentum to this idea that are the mainstream Catholic, Episcopalian and so forth stepping up to the plate. Is there momentum, is there momentum with the mainstream Christian traditions? Is there momentum with the mainstream coming on board, leading into 2020? Oh, Ace of Truth, I like that. Oh, Ace of Wands doing that. Oh, not so good. Oh, good. Okay. All right. Well, I'm pleased to report here, viewers. 4 cards. 4 cards. Is that 4? 3 aces. New energy, new insight. The odd card here. All right. So on top, people are getting motivated. The sword of truth, the sword of justice. I think people are tired of being told that by Christians that the door is closed. The door is closed to the poor, the door is closed to immigrants, the door is closed to women, the door is closed. They're sick of that, and they're beginning to go back to basics, which is the fundamental sword of truth. Coming up here, the rather phallic Ace of Wands card. The church fundamentally being a patriarchal organisation, although, second digression, the Catholic Church was very smart in the sense of Mary is seen as a divine being too, and many people pray to Mary for mercy and for help. I grew up in what you call Episcopalian, in a Catholic area, so I grew up between the two camps. Mary's rarely mentioned. She only gets wheeled out on Christmas and Easter, and she's not part of the day-to-day runnings of the Church of England so much, whereas the Catholic Church embraced Mary as the feminine principle. But all of them are very patriarchal institutions that serve to keep men as the head of the house, the head of the family, the head of everything, with the big stick. This had the effect, this is the 5 of Swords, this is another hint of walking away here. This position is no longer so popular. It is being questioned. So this person who loves a fight and loves to obstruct and even likes to destroy things has fought with these other people. Can you see it on this camera? But you know what? They've thrown down their swords and they're going, no, you keep that ugly, aggressive energy. We are moving away. And, meaning outcome here, the Ace of Pentacles. Bearing in mind all the aces, they have this hand of God type imagery going on here. This is a brand new day being promised here in relation to the connection between Christianity and those who profess to be Christian and those who want to practice. But there's a warning in here, and that's the gap in the hedge. See the pathway and the gap in the hedge. If the momentum, if people do not pick up on this momentum and go with change and support that, they have to relive this pathway again. So that's just there lurking. So pay attention to the pathway. But this, it can also, I have on other occasions called it fool's gold. I think it's questioning, again, that prosperity gospel at any price that isn't actually even servicing the people in those poor areas of America. But the promise works. The reality doesn't have to deliver, right? The GOP and Trump have not delivered on healthcare. They have not delivered in all sorts of ways. But it doesn't matter because the promise is enough. So it's sort of, there's new energy around it, but there's a risk of it stalling on this idea of, I want to be a good Christian so I can make money. And that goes back to Jerry Falwell and all of those, you know, decades ago. It sort of has built up to irrational and ridiculous lengths now. So I don't know how many of you have followed the series True Blood. I love True Blood. And I think they very cleverly used people being vampires as people who are different and looking at issues of tolerance in those deep red states. And I think they did a very good job of that. It was very clever. So now my question is, leadership. I think Buttigieg has lifted the bar, okay, in terms of leadership and Christianity. So let's have a look at the leadership issue. Which leaders can harness that positive Christian message of tolerance and diversity? Helping your neighbour, feeding people who are hungry, housing the homeless. Let's see who has the leadership qualities. The leadership issues. What should we be looking for with the leadership issues? Oh, maybe a woman. Into a safer place. All right, this is a critical issue. This is an absolutely critical issue. I'll jump to the meat first. If this issue is not addressed and the leadership does not come forward, tower moment for America. For me, in this context, the tower is the real destructive qualities of the tower are about letting people who are anti-science have positions of power, people who are not addressing the real issues. I think this is catastrophic. If America stops being a leading researcher and producer of new ideas going forward, that was what America was founded on. That's what it became famous for. So to ignore that and go back to this 19th century Christianity represents a major threat to the state. So what that is saying on top of this reading to me is, you know what, this issue is really important. We need Christians like Obama and millions and millions and millions and millions of others who can embrace Christianity and its values and science. Hello, aloha. Okay, so that's what that's speaking to. So don't be afraid of it. It's simply saying this is really important. The church, in all its manifestation, needs to get its act together. People look to the church for leadership. So far, they haven't got it. They've been vaguely disappointed. I'm talking here now, thinking, caring Americans, because if you're a rabid flat earther, you're not worried by that. So this is thinking, caring Christians who are looking to that. Before I get to the centerpiece, the Queen of Wands, the short-term out, moving to a better place. So the idea is, how do you get from that vaguely disappointed space, not getting the leadership, to a better and safer, stronger place? Well, that would be via the Queen of Wands. Now, I'd be interested in your feedback. Who do you think is the Queen of Wands? There are certainly obvious candidates such as Nancy Pelosi and so forth, but I think it needs to be a woman with a higher sort of Christian profile. But the Queen of Wands is very cultured. She's intelligent. She is emotionally savvy. She is not afraid of a fight. She brings together, the black cat here is a little hint of bringing deep feminine energy and wisdom to the table. So it could be an actual person, or it could be American women. I'm leaning a bit more towards that as I'm speaking, as a collective. Christian women in America who want to see change and moving to a better place. Because the youth, the Page of Pentacles, this is an interesting card because this too is a watershed for America. To either follow the money and to sort of embrace the Kardashians as the place to, revolve your world around this shallow celebrity crapola that led us to the Trump situation. But the Page of Pentacles also has the red turban, signifying academic knowledge, science, medicine. It is about the intellect. So young people have to find a way to engage, not necessarily with the mainstream Christian bodies, but with a compassionate, a compassionate spiritual position that is also very practical. Pentacles are ruled by Earth. They're very practical. So that is the energy around that. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there-ish today, but I'm going to return to this issue because I think it's really important. I wanted to also say I'm back. I'm able to start doing some personal readings very soon. Now, if you've been hanging out for a reading, please email me, get in touch. I'll send you the notes, what to do next, and we'll make a plan. If you're not hanging out, just leave it another couple of weeks while I catch up. But for those of you who really feel there's something major in your life, your love life, your work life, your money life, your social life, your spirit, any life, please get in touch because I've missed doing the readings. I thought, oh, well, I'll freshen up having a break. It wasn't like that. I've missed meeting you guys. So if you're in the category of wanting a personal reading, email me and we'll make a plan. So thanks so much for joining me. Look after yourselves and I'll be back in a blink. Bye.